Hey, it's Orit, and I'm sitting on the floor at my cousin's house in Melbourne, Australia. And I want to talk to you about how long does it really take to heal your trauma? And there's not one straight answer for this. There's a lot of different factors, but I have found in the experience of working with my clients and my own personal experiences in the 9 years I've been doing this work that it takes at least 4 to 5 months to retrain your nervous system and readapt it so that you're not reacting in fight, flight, freeze, shutdown impulsively, and so you're not feeling totally controlled by your emotions and your reactions, and that you actually train your body to feel safe on a real deep level, like not just tricking it to feel safe, but that you actually at the primal level of your being feel safe and really recalibrate the alarm system that's in your body, so that your partner walks into the kitchen while you're doing dishes and you don't jump. You actually are calm, cool, and regulated. And so I don't have a reason why it takes 45 months. That's just like 90% of my clients, it takes that long to not heal your trauma necessarily, but to at least do that really first important necessary step in healing your trauma. Because if your nervous system is still reacting impulsively in trauma, in fear, then you're not going to feel safe. Your brain's not going to be online, ready to process new information, ready to learn new ways of coping, of being, of communicating, of taking in love and giving love. None of that new information can be learned until you're feeling safe at the most primal level. And without that, you just repeat the same patterns over and over again. So, for example, I have a client who, she was just telling me that she's firing her talk therapist tomorrow. And because he wants to pick apart every single little detail of all the traumas and memories that she's been through. And every time this happens, she's like, she goes into a fear response. It's a freeze response. And so when you do that, like when you don't actually feel safe and you start accessing your trauma, you're honestly just repeating the same patterns over and over again, where you're trying to release your trauma, yet you actually react with a trauma response. And so it's the same thing over and over again. You're not actually doing anything productive. My client is awesome. She realized that on her own, took her power, and is like, no, not doing that. And she knows from the work that we do that it is much more effective. It's much quicker to gently and slowly, even though that sounds counterintuitive, expand your window of tolerance so that you can slowly access your trauma in a way that's safe, in a way that opens up your capacity to deal with the memories and the experiences from the past and change them on the spot within our relationship. So, the more I do this work on my own, the more I'm really finding that I don't agree with traditional psychotherapy. I talk a lot about how talking really only gets you here, and it doesn't really access the deep level of your nonverbal subconscious. But also because this routine of going into a session for 50 minutes, most of the time you don't even get 60 minutes, you don't even get a full hour, going into session for 50 minutes, talking about your stuff, taking some action, maybe if you are even in a more body-oriented therapy, and then leaving for the week and just not doing anything for the next 7 days until you meet again. You come back into the next session, you spend 20 minutes talking about what has happened in the last week, how it showed up in your reality, in your life. You get maybe 20 minutes to do something a little bit more productive. And just when you're getting deep, it's like, we got to close out the session. And yes, that closure is really important, because therapy should not leave you feeling more anxious, more in fear than when you started your session. And so it's like, you don't really, like, if we're asking the question, how long does it take to heal my trauma? And we're talking about that traditional sequence, that traditional treatment, it's going to take a really freaking long time, because you're hardly doing the active work. Like, if we're just spending 20 minutes catching up on what has happened, we're essentially doing the same thing as what my client was saying, of like going in the past, talking about the past, not working actively to change the present and essentially the future. And it takes a much longer time than with, like, I've transitioned to the direction of creating these packages where we do spend 4 to 5 months doing the work to access, release the trauma, and change the way that you react, and actually become in command of your emotions and respond instead of react. And this includes movement meditations in between, videos in between, how you can practice the movement safely on your own as well. And 30 minutes each week to chat back and forth about what's going on in the present. I'm a very present-centered therapist. In my sessions, we change the present on the spot through movement, through our relationships, so that you can actually effectively change your nervous system and rewire on the spot, and set you up for that longer-term change. So it's not like you just fix the alarm and the next day it's like it's broken again. It actually is sustainable. And so that way, the next time we meet, we're continuing to move on with the work. We're really making progress there. So how long it takes to release, to heal your trauma, really depends on the process. Again, you need to be in a safe relationship in order to do so. You need somebody to see you accessing your trauma and preventing you from going back into those old patterns of fight, flight, freeze, shut down, and teach your body instead that the danger has passed and that you don't actually have to react that way. And that it also doesn't and shouldn't be a process where you're picking apart your wounds and poking at the wounds, and that it can actually be enjoyable and fun and pleasurable instead, even as the work is very profound and life-changing. And the rest is up to you, who you are, your individual trauma, who you are as a person. But I have found that it takes at least 4 to 5 months to do the foundational work, where you're rewiring your nervous system, where you're learning new ways of being in your body so that you can communicate with your partner, so that you can make friends in the community without shutting down, so that you can feel good about yourself, even if what you're doing is different than anybody, and just generally getting your body on board with your mind's intention. So yes, that is it. And if you are interested in talking more about this, how this could work for you, how you could heal your trauma in a powerful, effective, fun way, in a way that really works, like not in an outdated way, where if you were to go session by session, week after week, for years, essentially, spending more money than if you were to actually just commit to the short-term intensive healing. And even though it's short-term and intensive, it's still lasting work. If you want to know how that could work for you, where your trauma is stored in your body, what trauma is stored in your body, because I've been doing these free relationship reviews, and it's like, wow, I didn't even realize that was the thing that was stuck in my body. And how to create change. What are the steps you need to take to access, release your trauma in a safe way, and in a way that is sustainable, that is powerful, and not going to take the freaking rest of your life, you know? If you're interested in that, I'm going to leave a link down below, or depending on where you're watching, it could be to the side or above. But anyway, I'm going to leave a link. And if this is on Facebook, you can always message me for the link, and I cannot wait to see you move. All right. Bye.